Qualifying 2 is just about ready to go here in Macau for the FIA FR World Cup. For the Macau Grand Prix, we had one qualifying session of 40 minutes duration yesterday. Qualifying 2 will be the same, and it starts in about 5 minutes time, and you take your better of the two times to decide the grid positions. In this modern age, it's all a bit old-fashioned, really, taking time as your better out of two options, but it's still going to be very interesting indeed, and also to see how the times stack up with a bit more mileage, a bit more experience, a bit more confidence gained after yesterday. David Addison and Alan Hyde. A trackside, Freddie Slater is the man in form. He was quickest yesterday, he was quickest this morning as well. But as you anticipate at Macau, it is a quality entry, that is for sure, with a number of drivers who have won races, won championships across the course of 2025. Not all from Formula Regional, that's the chassis that they use, the Tachus T318, but some have been racing in FIA Formula 3 and have decided to come and race in these cars because the lure of Macau is such. Others have been racing in other categories and are stepping up to Formula Regional because the lure of Macau is such. We have had a few stoppages during the course of the weekend, not only in this category but others, but yet again we are looking forward hugely to what this second qualifying session has in store, because every year you come to Macau and surprises come thick and fast, and talented drivers will always shine through.
Freddie Slater this morning in free practice was at the top of the times, and that's the car that you look at, number 11 down in pit lane, he being a champion already this year, and Formula Regional Europe champion in 2025. 2 rounds of FIA F3 as well for Freddie Slater this year, with a second place being his best results over the course of that outing. So it's really what drivers do now when they are young drivers in the early part of their single-season careers. They can try and race every single weekend. They can compete in different championships, and many of the drivers that you see down in pit lane competing this weekend in Formula Regional chassis have competed in multiple championships over the course of this year. And if you do get the opportunity as a Formula Regional driver to compete in FIA F3, well, it's a good idea. It gives you an idea of what you might be doing next year, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's true. Well, we are pretty much good to go as the drivers go through the final few moments before the green flag is waved at the end of the pit lane. Number 18 there, ready to make his way down the pit lane, is Takuya Suzuki, the Japanese driver making his Macau debut. There, Murray Boyer, who was rapid this morning. He's been racing in Formula 3 for the last couple of seasons. He did come and race here last year. He was 7th. He was 4th back in 2023 and 3rd in the FIA Formula 3 Championship this year. That is Matteo Colnaghi carrying the Red Bull colours, having joined the junior programme this year. Colnaghi, one of the drivers for the PHM Racing team, the Euro Cup 3 champion. Matteo De Paolo, having recently, like in the last week, signed for McLaren, that driver development programme. And it's a is there as well. Sticker tyres, new set of boots for them. Pirelli rubber is on which they run. The PHM Racing car of Enzo Ye, Chinese karting champion, and has been racing in partly Formula Regional in Europe, but also the Euro Formula Open, from which we have the champion, Tim Quattro. That's Enzo Deligny, who's been another race winner in the European Series. He took 4 victories, and the French-Chinese driver good to go for R-Ace GP. Enzo Deligny's father, Arno, used to race in the Volkswagen Cup in China, going back quite a few years. So we're into the last minute before things get underway. And after a fairly bruising Formula 4 qualifying session with, what do we end up with in the end? 4 red flags and lots of battered cars. Fingers crossed that the more powerful Formula Regional cars are going to be guided safely through the Guia Circuit. 30-second board shown. Q2 is ready to start, and by way of a guide, we're looking for times around about the 2:15 bracket. Only Freddie Slater was in the 2:15s in Q1 yesterday.
So, an expectant crowd here at Macau awaits already, even on day 2 of the Macau Grand Prix this year. We've got 4 grandstands, we've got plenty of school trips to enjoy the action here at Macau trackside, and the green flag is waved to get 40 minutes of qualifying underway. We have tried over the last couple of days to pick out who might be the victorious driver on Sunday, and with a quality field like that, it is becoming increasingly difficult. One of them, clearly, Freddie Slater. He's been exceptional over a few significant laps so far this weekend. Yesterday and today in 2 free practice sessions and 1 qualifying session at the end of yesterday. Around about the same time as this, a little bit later, wasn't it, yesterday, about an hour later for their qualifying session. It's a bit earlier, we've got here today, and as David was saying, a few delays over the course of qualifying today. Quite a few red flags and quite a few stoppages, which is to be expected on a street circuit. The way things work, as soon as you have a car that stops out on the circuit, it needs to be recovered. Can't have marshals working around cars and cars still threading their way through. It needs to be a stoppage to the session, and therefore we've had quite a few of them so far today, and I fancy we probably haven't seen the last of them today.
Yeah, I fear you might be right, but if they get into a rhythm, that all helps, because it starts to build the confidence, doesn't it? We don't need to worry about this lap particularly because it's an out lap. Even the first flying lap, I think, will be a start-up lap in a sense. They will get quicker and quicker before a push lap comes, really. Balancing, taking life out of the tyres. They get 4 sets for the weekend. Now that's 2 free practice, 2 qualifying, and 2 races of differing lengths. So they need to manage what they run and when. But here, surely you would want to bang on a brand new set because you desperately need to be as high up the grid as you can be. Yeah,
for the qualification race tomorrow, which will form part of our live stream, which we've got around the world, and also a number of broadcasters taking the action here from Macau over the course of this weekend, which is super to see every year. And we've got a really good number of broadcasters from all corners of the world taking our broadcast over the course of this weekend, which is great news. The race for these cars tomorrow will be open 10 laps, 4:15 in the afternoon tomorrow. Final action on circuit tomorrow, and their Grand Prix on Sunday. 15 laps in total. Only one race goes longer than this, and that's the Macau GT Cup for GT3 cars. The FIA GT World Cup has a 16-lap race on Sunday. They're qualifying after this as well. We've got the GT3 cars coming up. But now it's all about single-seaters and the 72nd Macau Grand Prix.
Enzo Deligny first across the line, first out. He drives for RHGP. RHGP won last year with Ugo Ugochukwu. The allocation of the order of the garages is in the order the teams finished last year's race. So you win one year, you're quite likely to do very well the next because you're at pit out, which is always an advantage. First on the road, ahead of any dramas that happen behind you, first onto a qualifying lap, first to record a time. It's a bit tougher if you're at the back of the queue. You can see from the way that everyone's weaving left and right still that we're not looking at proper push laps yet. They're still getting warmth and pressure into the tyres before they do start to attack the circuit. So yeah, sector times will be an improvement over the out lap, but they're not representative yet. And hopefully we can get through the first 10 minutes or so really before we get any dramas. What we want is for people to get into a rhythm and then start to be able to attack and post lap times. The first half of the F4 session went that way, then there was an interruption and drivers seemed to lose their cool after that.
Saw how important it was to put an early qualifying lap in as well in this session. So sensible stuff this, having 2 warming up laps to make sure that everything is absolutely up to temperature, and then the closing stages of the lap that they are now on. If you pull the pin, finish the lap really quickly, that puts you, sets you up nicely for a good opening part of your first quick lap. So this is sensible stuff, 2 laps of warming up.
It is, and Enzo Deligny is not without error this weekend. At this part of the circuit in FP2 this morning, he went straight on up the escape road, was able to reverse back down and rejoin without the session having to be stopped. But right now he's on his own and he's trying to use that clear track space to his advantage. Deligny 4 times a winner in European Formula Regional this year, the ghastly titled FRACA, Formula Regional European Championship with Alpine. But Spa, Imola and Barcelona and Hockenheim were the circuits at which he won. You see there the problems of how narrow the Macau hairpin is, and if you just ran ever so slightly wide, all of a sudden you run out of turning circle. So the car's to a virtual halt, 35 kilometres an hour, first gear coming into that corner. And as Alan's been explaining over the weekend, there's a permanent yellow flag to stop people overtaking, because two cars side by side into the corner, yeah, you can see the width for that, but not the other side. I
remember a demonstration here on Sunday as we go on board with Matteo De Pallo. We're going to be on board with De Pallo for the whole of this lap, and it's been a treat so far, and now we're in qualifying. This is going to be one to savour.
It is indeed. So he now accelerates, then down towards the very fast right, going through Mandarin, 246 kilometres an hour, sixth gear, goes now down towards Lisboa, hard on the brakes. You're going from 246 clicks down to 83 into the braking zone, down to second gear, back onto the power. You can see how much throttle is being applied as well in that graphic. Grab third gear, climb up San Francisco Hill, and then it starts to get narrow, then it starts to get twisty. Fourth gear, trailing throttle, keep it in fourth. Hard on the brakes, down to third. Second gear, pick up the revs. Out of eternity, sharp right, up against the concrete. And then down the hill.
I don't know why I'm watching your television. I'm getting closer and closer to you. It's absolutely enthralling, this stuff. I've got a telly of my own to watch. Absolutely superb being on board in any of these single-seaters around this tight, twisty section, because you can see what we mean about the barriers. They kind of lure you in, they get closer and closer. It's sort of tunnel vision on this section of the circuit. And in the warm weather, it's very, very warm now. The tyres hot and sticky. Grip into the tarmac, into the right-hander here at Police, on towards the very quickly right-hander at Moorish, and then into the long left-hander at Donna Maria. Still a tight part of the circuit. Run downhill towards the Macau hairpin. This is the area that you have to get absolutely right to finish the lap nicely and to set yourself up for the start of the next lap as well.
Macau hairpin, 42 kilometres an hour, first gear, back on the power, down towards Fisherman's Bend. So you're looking at third gear and 125 kilometres an hour for this part of the circuit. Matteo De Pallo, who's been there or thereabouts across the weekend, looking to try to get himself to the top of the times, and then it's now down to Isle Bend. Again, 135 kilometres an hour, fourth gear. Enzo Dellini then goes across the timing line, and he does a 2 minutes 18 as his opening effort, 2:18.016. De Pallo goes second, and we'll see what Freddie Slater can do when he comes through behind. But the first flying lap offered up. Teo Nile, who did nothing this morning, never got a proper time in, he's gone quickest.
Murray Boyer goes second, Dellini's third, Charlie Thoughts is in fourth place, and Freddie Slater goes top. So a 2:17.033. First time I'm asking, we're on board now with Freddie Slater directly after that fastest lap of this session. Freddie Slater is really delivering when he's asked to do so, isn't he? This is commitment. Get a really good idea from the cockpit of the car just how committed you have to be around the Guia Circuit here at Macau, and how smooth you need to be as well.
Very close to the wall on the outside of Lisboa, but Freddie Slater then 3/10 quicker than anybody else at the end of his first flying lap. Teo Nile, though, now is doing absolute bests in Sector 1, what he did until we had Suzuki go even faster. Niall in the Pinnacle Motorsport car has been racing in FIA F3 this year for Van Amersfoort.
Freddie Slater has just gone purple, so overall best in Sector 2, following that quickest lap of the session. 2:17.033 is what we're aiming for.
And Evan Gilter has just gone third quickest. He was the Middle East Formula Regional champion at the start of the year. That's the best we've seen out of Gilter all weekend. It's really the first time we've had to mention him, other than at the end of a session in a rundown of the times, because finally Gilter, with clear track space, has been able to show us what he's capable of, and he's going quicker again on his next lap.
Matteo De Pallo has just put in an overall best in the middle sector, and following being on board with him on the previous lap, because everybody else is improving, it's dropped out to 10th. So Matteo Di Paolo, car number 2, with an overall best in sector 3, personal best in sector 4, and let's see what he can do at the end of this lap. I fancy he's going to be an improvement on position. Yellow flag at turn 16 we're seeing down here on the timing screen. Yet to see exactly what's happened down there at turn 16.
But the yellow flag is still there, which does not bode well, as these drivers frantically now trying to get a lap time in. We've done the first 10 minutes of the session, as up to the top goes Teo Nile, then on a 2:17.006, and the green flag is shown at turn 16 as Freddie Slater comes pounding up toward the end of the lap. Now, it's been an odd lap for him, this, in as much as he crosses the line, there was only one improvement in the sector. It was an absolute best, but the other 4 sectors were slower than he'd been, so he stays second fastest. Deligny is 3rd, Boyer 4th, Gilles is 5th, Taito Kato next. It was number 10 that had a moment off the road briefly. Hio Yamakoshi maybe went up the escape road. Yamakoshi's had 2 accidents this weekend, one when he lost a wheel and one when he lost orientation and bounced off the barriers.
Teo Nile has just put in the overall best in sector 1 at the start of the follow-up lap, to going quicker than anyone else in qualifying, 2:17.006, and Jose Garfias has just put in the overall best in the final sector with a 28.2, and he is in 10th position currently. It's Freddie Slater in 2nd place.
Evan Gilter is about to go across the line, and he improves to 3rd in the black car. Evan Gilter for ART Grand Prix gains a couple of spots then, so you've got Nile, Slater, Gilter and Teo Nile doing absolute best, sector 1, sector 2.
Very quick lap this is looking to be for Teo Nile, and overall best in sectors 1 and 2.
And a personal best in sector 3. So here he is, Teo Nile coming through Police and Moorish up towards Donna Maria. Mattia Colnagi's Red Bull livery car is now the fastest in sector 2. So these sector bests are being thrown through different drivers, aren't they?
Isn't it lovely when they can get in a groove?
Yeah, exactly.
It's just wonderful. Fast lap after fast lap, and really pushing the cars to their limits. Ultimate concentration around the twists and turns of the 6-kilometre Guia Circuit. Okay, so Teo Nile was going really well on the first part of the red flag, and I wonder if that's the reason why Teo Nile was just a little bit slower on sector 4.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. There's the answer to why. It looks as though Garfias has gone off the road. So Jose Garfias, we just talked about improving, and that's on the mountain section, isn't it? And are we going to be able to piece together how? Not just yet, we're not, but Garfias in the barrier, that's him done for qualifying. Now, don't forget, you take your best or better time out of the 2 sessions. Now, yesterday, Garfias was in Q1 12th, and he did a 2:17.104, and he will now lose his best time out of this session, which was a 2:18. There you go, loses the back of the car, smacks into the barrier. All self-induced, so he's got to rely on yesterday's time, which is another reason for why you want a banker.
You've got to do it, and you've got to do it early, because we were just saying, when they can get in a groove and do multiple quick laps, one after another, it's just the perfect situation. There is no guarantee that we're going to be able to do that again in the remaining 28 minutes, just under, of this session. So that first part of the session might have been very important.
Because now we go back to the point we touched on in F4, that when it's interrupted and drivers have to pit and then they lose their rhythm. They don't lose time here because the clock stops, but their rhythm is interrupted. They then go out, get a bit edgy and perhaps make another mistake, or feel they have to push harder than they really do, and then another stoppage comes, and then it just goes into this downward spiral.
Well, with the F4 cars, the other single-seaters that we've got here this weekend, we saw it just after the resumption, when you go out and you maybe push a little bit too hard too soon, and then all of a sudden you find that you've got another stoppage.
Yeah, on 2 occasions in F4 we had people having incidents on their outlaps, which really is not good news. Anyway, enough of them, because Teo Nile has been so far the fastest. The gap to Freddie Slater is a fairly modest one of 27 thousandths of a second, as we have a look down the pit lane and spot first up the French Vietnamese driver Owen Tangabaloo. drives for the Santilot team, a name familiar from GT racing and rallying and single-seater racing. Versatility, totally under the Santilot umbrella. The team of Sebastian Bradai. Matthew Cornagi did the absolute best sector 2, but it was all a bit academic, given that the lap then was hit by the red flag. The schools are in good voice. The session might have stopped. I think you could still hear them cheering over the cars anyway.
They're having a lovely time, aren't they?
Absolutely, absolutely.
It's become a feature increasingly over recent years, noticed on Thursday and Friday here at the Macau Grand Prix of official school trips. Here, all the children looking very smart in their school uniforms. It's a big thing in the area, the Macau Grand Prix. It's also the national games taking place, and Greater Bay Area regions are all very much part of that at the moment. So it's a huge sporting event in Macau over the course of this week for not only the Macau Grand Prix but also the national games as well.
And thinking further ahead, in June is the International Beer Festival.
What, here?
In Macau.
You're coming back?
I'm hoping it's in this very box, actually, but I'm tempted. It goes on for a week, so there's certainly scope. So drivers then going through the process with the team of any adjustments, looking at data, just picking up on one or two other things. Yesterday, Oscar Wirtz had an accident this morning, in fact, with lots of damage, and he's had an engine change since then. And that was a car badly damaged this morning, and also having had an engine change, Kanato Lee, who had a crash this morning. Now this is an onboard Freddie Slater lap. He's second in the times, don't forget, but let's just ride with him on the run now down towards Mandarin. He's got the road pretty much to himself, so he's not affected by traffic up the road ahead. You can see the hotels and the casinos towering over him as he goes flat out through Mandarin, still on the loud pedal all the way down towards Lisboa. Moves across to avoid some of the bumps. He's then going to have to go back to the far left on the road to get the apex for the corner. You're trying to spot where the gap in the barrier is, and there it is. Pretty much when you're upon it, you've got to slow and turn from second gear, and he's on the power now as the road narrows and he climbs up through San Francisco. Full throttle up to fourth gear, and then accelerates towards Maternity, which is the next sharp right-hander here. So he drops it down to second gear. The road just dips slightly, and then there is a downhill run for a little while as he heads towards Teddy Yip corner, which you'll see in a moment, with the former house of Teddy Yip there towering over the circuit. Flick right. Still a quick part of the racetrack, this. Absolutely no margin for error. It's narrow and it's fast. This is where you really do start to discover how brave they are. Hard on the brakes down to third gear, heading towards faraway S's, and then down towards Police and Moorish. There's the left-hand kink, and then there's the right, which is a quick right. But then midway up the straight, you've got to brake because it's a really slow second gear, almost first gear in some cars, 90-degree corner. Then the climb to Donna Maria, which is ever so slightly cambered on the left, so the car tilts a little bit. Freddie Slater, though, with what looked like just a touch of understeer, and this is the very narrow run to the Malco hairpin. First gear at about 35 kilometres an hour. Hurl the wheel as far round as it will go.
Yeah, only just
get around the corner.
Wow.
And then the speed builds all the way down to now about 125 kilometres an hour for Fisherman's Bend, which is this next fourth gear right-hander. And then that fast run down towards our bend. A lot of oversteer, another snap for Freddie Slater. He's got the car by the scruff of the neck, but it does not look like the easiest car to drive.
It also makes you realise when you're riding on board on a day like today how important a tinted visor is, because some of the you are doing such a speed that all of a sudden you go into the glare of the sunshine, and it's quite disorientating when you're looking on the camera. The iris taking a little while to sort of react to that, but as a driver, yep, you need that sunshine tint, that's for sure.
So we await a restart time.
27 minutes and 50 seconds when we get the session back underway. It's the car of Teana, top of the times at the moment, 2:17.006 for the number 6 car, remaining very much in the zone and having to deal with a bit of fluid down there as well on the circuit, so that might take a little while longer.
It was a very high-speed whack into the barrier, wasn't it? And the speedied right, put down, you can see how far the car went with the rubber marks all the way across the road. So Jose Garfia's okay, but a bit bruised and battered, perhaps, after quite a bash into the barrier, having raced in the Euro Formula Open this year. He's done a bit of GB3 racing in the past, but committed largely to Euro Formula Open. He was fourth in that, 3 times a winner. So again, a driver with ability. And Mari Boyer, 5th in the times right now.
So the order, Teo Nile is top of the times at the moment. Freddie Slater is second. Evan Gilles is in third. Enzo Delaney is in fourth place. Mari Boyer completes the top 5 as we look at Evan Gilles, which you rightly said, David, maybe the first session that we've really spoken about. Evan having a good session at the moment, being up there in third place.
And it's encouraging. And this is part of Macau, isn't it? Some people are on it straight away. Others take a session or so to really get themselves dialed in and then start to become much more of a threat. That is Taito Kaito, who was good yesterday in the first free practice session. But Taito Kato, the French-Japanese driver, Japanese by birth, but racing under a French licence. Last year's French F4 champion, Mathieu de Palo, who has so far only got to 8th in the times.
It's a good racing colour to be racing this year, though, isn't it? How tired would you be running in the colours of McLaren?
Yes, indeed. That's a car with a new engine as well after its accident yesterday, Kanato Lee's car. And number 5, looking further down the pit lane, is Enzo Delaney, getting ready to storm out, get back on the track, 4th in the times.
As we say, just under 28 minutes remain in the session when we get things back underway, and we are a little way behind schedule here at Macau, not surprisingly. We had quite a few stoppages over the course of today. If we had been going according to the original timetable, we would now be completing our qualifying session for the Formula Regional cars and going into qualifying for GT3, but we have still 27 minutes and 50 seconds of the session remaining, which will get back underway in about 2 minutes' time.
And there is a driver switching from Formula 3 to come and do the Macau Grand Prix this year, to Sanapol into Pubasak. Winner twice, in fact, in F3 this year. And his father, Buttigieg, you might recall racing in GT cars, the Thai motorsport family. First time that Sanapol into Pubasak was raced here, or turned into Pubasak for short, but Sanapol is his full title. Mari Boyer good to go for the KCMG back squad, and we're looking at about now 10 seconds before things get underway. That is Reza Seaworthen, who also had an accident yesterday. Reza here for the first time, driving a Formula Regional car for the first time, all really just to learn. The teams are being told to tell their drivers of a track surface that's a bit slippery between turns 9 and 10. And we're not far off getting that green light at the end of the pit lane. Impressive, though, the way that Teo Nile has been able to, if you like, bounce back from a troubled free practice session this morning. Certainly not phased it at all, has it? And there he is fighting for pole position now.
Yeah, back on the sort of form that we saw yesterday in day 1 of the Macau Grand Prix yesterday here at the Guia Circuit. Sunshine, 32nd board. We're about to get qualifying back on the way from the Macau Grand Prix.
Evan Gilles, we've been saying much better now, 16th in Q1 and currently 3rd.
Wow, impressive that. Work has been done, hasn't it? And also familiarisation has been done as well. The amount of laps that you put behind yourself at the Guia Circuit, the confidence breeds, doesn't it? We've said it quite a few times as the green flag is waved. You can do as many laps as you like on a simulator, but there is nothing quite the same as real-world experience with sitting in a car and experiencing all the assault of the senses that the Macau Guia Circuit is.
And also, you need a good driver coach, because somebody that can invest in you and say, don't worry, or try this line, or be mindful of that bump, here more than anywhere perhaps, is absolutely crucial. There is, at the end of the pit lane, the practice start box, but I think pretty much everybody for now just wants to be on circuit. They were using that in free practice, but it's too important the qualifying session to be wasting time. You can see they're all on
quite a few
new
labels,
sticker tyres.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's quite a sight for the eyes, that, with the white flicking through. And you can see how track position is important. Murray Boyer absolutely determined to come by, as in, I'm coming by, and gets himself up the order on track. So he doesn't want to get stuck in traffic at all.
That was a bit marginal, wasn't it, going up to San Francisco? So everyone got through, sensible stuff, and you can't win anything on the outlap from pit lane, can you? Certainly lose a lot.
Yeah, and we've got a couple of drivers being looked at from the Formula 4 session for an accident, not on an outlap, but going into that corner. Right, Murray Boyer storms past Enzo Dellini. He said that puts Boyer at the head of the queue, nobody ahead of him. Do you get the feeling that Murray Boyer is going for one instant push lap here, as a desperate effort to roll the dice and get up the order for fear of more stoppages?
On a mission is a phrase that comes to mind, and Murray Boyer, if we can go on board here, this is going to be fairly spectacular, and I reckon pretty close to the edge as well, because this is a committed outlap from pit lane, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. To do all that overtaking that you've seen him do shows intent, doesn't it? So there is Niall, there is Dellini, the Palo, and the red and white Kramer Racing colours, carried by Freddie Slater a little bit further back in the queue. And he will also, no doubt, be trying to let the traffic go so that the road is clear ahead of him. 25.75 minutes are still to go in this session.
So just under 26 minutes of qualifying, and this is the final qualifying session for single-seaters. They go into qualification races tomorrow, and then of course the big races on Sunday here. And this one, the biggest of them all, the Macau Grand Prix. It's one of the Region R cars that are competing for that title for the second year. Macau, right, weave the car as much as you can as you close in on the completion of the lap. Murray Boyer has certainly got as much heat into the tyres as is absolutely possible.
So let's ride with Murray Boyer then and see whether or not this is going to be a lap with an improvement in it. He certainly was going so hard on the previous start-up lap to show that he wanted to get the warmth in the tyres, so he's absolutely on it, and we'll see shortly when he gets to the end of this run down to Lisboa whether or not we're going to have a better first sector. If we are, the lap can be built upon. Down towards Lisboa he comes. He's nearly at the end of Sector 1. He is at the end of Sector 1, and he is slower than he had been earlier on. So Boyer not quite able yet to think about improving the lap time.
Into San Francisco he goes. It's great to be on board, because this is, although not a personal best in the first sector, certainly commitment early on in the restart of this session. Slipping through the lefts and the rights, the wall on the left-hand side into the demands of the run down towards Teddy Ip after maternity, and then into the Solitude S's where the car goes from left to right and left to right, and then the run down towards the left-hander at Pyle, and then Faraway Hill comes next, which is coming up any moment now, ultimately finishing up in the right-hander of Police, and then very quickly the squirt onto Moorish Corner, the one that can so often catch you out. So this Murray Boyer on the first quick lap after the resumption of this qualifying session.
And it is starting to come, because he's done a personal best in Sector 2, but also Timek Kwarczyk, the Polish driver, has done an absolute best Sector 1. Now some of that can be down to a tow if you've got a bit of traffic around you, but we are now starting to see some improvements in the sectors as Boyer goes down to first gear. There's a huge strain, of course, on the transmission from first gear, all that power going through it, coming out the other side. But Murray Boyer then accelerates towards the sunshine, towards Fisherman's Bend, and right now he is 5th in the times, desperate to improve. 2 personal best in the sectors.
Here we go. Let's see what the result is going to be at the end of this. 2 green, Sector 2 and Sector 4. That's a personal best. And now we're about to see what the final sector is for Murray Boyer, currently in 5th position, comes across the line now, breaks the timing screen, goes 2 places higher. So a personal best in the final sector for Murray Boyer, finishes up in 3rd place. But you know what we saw on the previous part of this qualifying? They go on to another quick lap, so 1 lap after another lap, and I fancy that's what Murray Boyer is about to do.
Well, let's see as well what happens to the rest of the lap for 1 or 2 others. Timek Kwarczyk's pace has not been built upon after his absolute best in the first sector. Many are still trying to get warmth into the tyres, but others are pushing on, and you've seen that it is possible to improve, as Murray Boyer has gone up to third in the times, 2:17.142. So some were good at the start of the lap, but really there's only Boyer that has done anything significant. But let's wait and see what pans out on this lap.
Let's just see what happens. We've got 22 minutes yet to run in this qualifying session. On board with Mathieu Dupalo.
So he's 8th in the time, and he's just improved in the first sector, Alan.
So let's keep this on-board shot, because absolutely challenging, exciting, everything about the Guia circuit here with a committed single-seater driver. Conditions absolutely perfect. Sunshine looks down on the Guia circuit. Mathieu Dupalo, you can see him working at the wheel of the car, keeping the car inch perfect, avoiding the barriers either side as the car goes from side to side.
So Dupalo a personal best. Murray Boyer had done 2 absolute bests. Colnaghi has now done an absolute best. They're shaking and shuffling them around between them, aren't they, as you ride with Dupalo. And he's 8th. The early braking for Moorish turns through the corner. I'm trying to get track position and clear track space. So important. Look, Dupalo's barely seen another car on this lap. But Murray Boyer here could be on for the fastest time of the session. Comes now up towards Fisherman's through the right-hander. Remember, the best yesterday, 2:15.708. That is the benchmark, that is the target, 2:15.7. And we are only in the 2:17s at the moment. So Boyer has got some time to find, and he bails after all of that effort with personal best and absolute best. Into the pits he comes.
Sometimes they say, you know, tyres don't work best when it's really warm, and in the sunshine it is pretty warm out there today. It was a little cooler yesterday. There was a wind. It was keeping the tarmac cooler. I wonder if yesterday's times are going to be the quicker times at the end of this. 20 minutes we've got to go. Dupalo comes into pit lane as well, and I just wonder if we're going to see yesterday's times being the better of the 2 days.
I think in most cases you are. I mean, Gilles is one that bucks the trend, but Mathieu Colnaghi now goes quickest, a 2:16.783. So Mathieu Colnaghi way back before that lap was started. Vaults up through the top 14, and Colnaghi, who was 6th yesterday, did a 2:16.685. He's still a 10th down on yesterday. So yeah, the evidence would suggest that in the warmer conditions it is going to be fractionally slower today, even though the order is still shuffling.
2:16.7, and we were into the 2:15s yesterday. Much hotter today than yesterday. And Colnaghi, a very good lap that in these conditions. Teo Nall is 2nd quickest. Came into pit lane at the end of that lap. And Freddie Slater is still out on track and has just put in his personal best in Sector 1. So Freddie Slater, car number 11, one to watch out on track as we look at the 23 car of Teto Kato, the ART Grand Prix car.
Gilles has just gone 2nd on the 2:17.004. Now this is Freddie Slater, who finds himself 4th in this session, but still with the fastest qualifying time set yesterday. 3rd gear, 4th gear. Heads down towards Faraway Hill, and then on to... another red flag, yeah. On towards Moorish, but a 2nd stoppage, and it is another broken car. Is that Colnaghi, having just gone fastest? It looks like a Red Bull livery car, that. Maybe not. Maybe a Van Amersfoort livery. But whatever it is, it's well broken.
Yep, certainly requires a red flag, and we get it, the 2nd one of this qualifying session. And Freddie Slater had, by the way, on the lap that we were joining him on, just put in the overall best in the 2nd sector. A question mark over whether it is the number 29 car, which has had the problem out on circuit, causing the red flag.
So that would be the Euro Formula Open champion, Timek Kwarczuk, and it is confirmed as 29. So Timek Kwarczuk, the Polish driver for Van Amersfoort, is off the road. So yeah, it was a Van Amersfoort livery, and the Euro Formula Open champion, former GB3 racer, has clattered the barrier very hard indeed. So another broken car, and Another long night of work for mechanics for Fritz van Amersfoort's team. Down the pit road comes Freddie Slater then. And we'll have a look at what happened to Krawczyk. He's already hit the wall, hasn't he? So he's broken, the suspension is completely broken, and he can't avoid another hit. The car, crab-like, takes him across the road, but he obviously whacked the barrier before he came into shot and couldn't steer away, so there was a secondary impact.
Must be a horrible feeling that. You can't turn the car, you've got ultimately ultimate control over a race car around the Guia Circuit when everything is going according to plan, but all of a sudden you become a complete passenger, and that second hit inevitable. As indeed the second red flag becomes inevitable as well. 18 minutes and 37 seconds when we get this back underway. You know the drill. Line up down in pit lane, get the car checked over, stay in the zone, and I wonder how quick a recovery this can be. I think there might be a bit of sweeping up to do as well.
Yeah, possibly. You also need a recovery vehicle there rather than a crane, don't you? But yeah, it won't be that bad, I don't think. Krawczyk 14th, but he will lose his best time, of course, through being the cause of our 15th red flag of the day and our second of this session. Meanwhile,
some very happy children on a day out from the local schools. This has become a bit of a feature of the afternoon, hasn't it? See themselves on the big screens, and there are many of them. Have you noticed this year as well, here in Macau, that many of the hotels have got not just big screens outside them, huge screens, almost the size of the front of the building.
Yes, yes.
It's a place, it's a part of the world that every year something changes. Nothing stands still. A huge amount of building work every year here in Macau, and every year the landscape changes again.
Yeah, it is a great place, and as we were saying yesterday, it's got this sort of Jekyll and Hyde character, hasn't it? Because there's Macau in the sunshine in the daytime, and there's lots of greenery and lovely old architecture as well as the modern architecture. But then at night, with all the lights of the hotels and the casinos come on, it takes on a completely different personality.
It's absolutely magical at time. Probably anyone that is listening around the world, watching around the world, if you are a motorsport fan, you have to come here once.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that once you come here once, you want to come back again. It is unique. There is nothing quite like this.
And the same is true for drivers, because many of them, if they've moved on or out of categories that race here, they manage to find a drive to come back, because it's just a circuit like no other. And I know that's a bit of a cliche, but it is true. In this modern age, to have a street circuit this fast, certainly the first sector of it, first third of it, is quite extraordinary.
Antonio Felix da Costa, he won the Macau Grand Prix and then went on to become a works BMW driver, competing in DTM and doing a great job, becoming a race winner and competing for a championship title, and then got the opportunity to come back and compete in a Formula 3 car at Macau and win again. He did that, so box very well and truly ticked. Alexander Sims was another driver who had become a works BMW driver, was competing at Le Mans, competing all over the world, but he still wanted to come back for another bite, another opportunity to maybe win at the Macau Grand Prix. Significant, I think the last year that Alexander Sims came here, his wife was also expecting a baby that weekend and delivered a son over the course of that weekend. Yeah.
Extraordinary, isn't it? The stories that Macau has, and continues to proffer as well. Now we're down to 18.5 minutes effectively, and the car of Timek Krawczyk is the one that is currently being retrieved. Not only the grandstands busy, but you factor in the fact that it's only Friday and they're busy. 2 more days of the Macau Grand Prix still to come. And we are at 3:30 local time. We've got another hour and a half or so of GT qualifying, and all of the activity has to be done by 6 for the roads to open. Yesterday, at the end of the day, when we had road sports on track, it was starting to go a little bit dark, but I think today on
No
a
danger
brighter
of that.
day we'll be all right.
No danger of that today. It was overcast
Yeah.
all yesterday afternoon, wasn't it? And,
Just thinking though, GT3 cars with headlights on would be quite something. That's Timek Kwarczyk's somewhat broken car onto the flatbed.
I'm going to check on the weather forecast now to see if we've got any clouding coming so we can give you headlights. No, afraid not. Sunny and lovely.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Right, Kwarczyk's car being retrieved, and there Freddie Stater getting ready to venture back out.
Sunny tomorrow, a high of 26 degrees. Sunny on Sunday, a high of 27 degrees. So very different weather over the course of this weekend to what we had 12 months ago.
And Sunday for these drivers is when they will all be presented to the Macau chief executive, and he shakes the hand, and he is accompanied to the VIP area overlooking the start line. And it's, again, it's all part of the magic of the event. It's something that these drivers just do not experience anywhere else.
They will do in 48 hours' time, and it will be something that they will remember for the rest of their lives. Wherever their motorsport journey, their career takes them, this will be something they will remember, because how can you forget it? It is totally unique, and it's part of motorsport heritage, really. 72nd running of the Macau Grand Prix. That's a lot of years for this event, and every year something else changes. You look at the photographs from year to year, and you think, hang on, that building wasn't there, was it, last year?
And how it's evolved as well, from road sports for local drivers through a period of putting to Formula Atlantic single-seaters, but it was a category that didn't generate big numbers. And then in 1983, with a huge amount of effort from the late Barry Bland, Formula 3 became the category, and that's really what kick-started all the attention around the event. The gear race, Barry worked hard to attract European teams across, and that grew. And then a GT race was added in, and that grew. And the Grand Prix itself went for, what, 3 decades, nearly 4 decades for Formula 3 cars. It then, because of COVID, ran for Formula 4. We went back to Formula 3. But last year, the introduction of Formula Regional to bring people with the same type of car from all over the globe has worked really well, because the F3 aspect of the Grand Prix, and the cars were coming so fast on the circuit anyway, but it was just like a non-championship FIA F3 championship race. There wasn't that shootout feel that there used to be.
Fascinated by Nakamura's helmet. Not sure what that design is. We've seen it a few times on screen today, but I think the vegetables with smiley faces. I think I saw a carrot.
You know you're saying this out loud.
Look closer next time.
Right.
I'm not making this up. I'm going to have a sit down.
I was just reflecting on how often in a FIA motor race commentary do you hear the phrase, "I think I saw a carrot."
With a smiley face.
With a smiley face. That was Alan Hyde. Please give James. Right, we are not too far away from getting the session back underway. And it is Matteo Colnaghi who is the fastest. We are 2¼ minutes away. And that is the reason for the most recent stoppage. What's left of Timek Kwarczyk's car, but it's off the road. And very shortly, therefore, things will resume here on the Guia Circuit at Macau. Alan's now Googling carrots with smiley faces. Enzo Deligny currently is only 7th in the times, but in a sense, the better news is that these times largely are slower than yesterday anyway. So once you refer back to a quicker Thursday qualifying time, might not be quite so bad.
So far, there hasn't really been an indication that we're getting down to the kind of times that we had yesterday. However, they've only been into the groove, if you like, putting a number of laps together, one after another. We've only had that once during this qualifying session. So let's wait and see. We've still got 18 minutes. That's a fairly good amount of time for the remainder of this qualifying session.
Crash helmet in question, Jin Nakamura's, has been guided to the 11th fastest as the 1 minute board is shown in the pit lane. 1 minute board.
It was a carrot. not a phrase I've used a lot.
Just turn him off now. I enough of this carrot rubbish. I do apologise, everybody. It's not been well.
We've just looked him up on Instagram. We've got it now.
Yeah.
Here we go. 18 minutes and 37 seconds of this session. Remains 2 interruptions with red flags for qualifying for the 72nd Macau Grand Prix. I feel self-conscious now.
It left for that. 30-second board shown. And qualifying ready to resume for the Macau Grand Prix. It's Q2, and don't forget you take your better time out of the 2 sessions. And yesterday looking for the majority, not all, but the majority of drivers to have been the quicker. So 5 seconds to go, and then the board was shown at the end of the pit lane. The light will go green and everybody will scamper out of the pit lane. Now, Enzo Dellini first down the pit lane, chased by Matteo Caparo, and then Jin Nakamura and his Smiley Carrots.
I'm glad you've got on board on this. I feel a whole lot better now.
One of the best bands ever to play in Macau. Nakamura and the Smiley Carrots. You should have been there. Right, everybody on the run down the pit road. Of course, we've lost now 2 cars out of the session, and Rennie Rossin and Kramer with a bit of head scratching thinks, please let us go to the end and let's not have any more dramas. But he's been experienced enough of the good and the bad of Macau to know exactly what happens. And the Prema cars, as is tradition here as well, running under the Theodore banner. Teddy Yip's legacy continues.
It does. It's a name so synonymous with the Macau Grand Prix, isn't it? Theodore Racing. Talking to someone that used to come here. Well, last night I was having a chat to someone that first came here in the early 1970s of racing along with Theodore Racing, and saw a couple of photographs as well. So huge memories for Theodore Racing here at Macau, and the fact the name continues for year after year is quite right and proper, I reckon. You were talking about Gary Bland as well, back in the days, taking F3 to the Macau Grand Prix title. It was a labour of love, wasn't it? It was quite a passionate job, and such an amazing job it was done over the years. And
Barry had such a contact book as well, that if a team wanted to come but said, you know, we're a bit short on budget, he'd have so many contacts out here, he could suddenly magic a sponsorship deal.
It would happen.
To get them out here.
It would all come together.
Brilliant. Yeah, he was a massive part of the success of this.
Much missed.
Much missed indeed. Yeah, he was a great man. So, as the session is back underway, the cars run up towards Moorish for the police. And usual pattern, and out that, then they'll start to push a little bit harder, and we hope that nobody pushes too hard as they're trying to get tyres up to temperature.
16.5 minutes of this qualifying session remains, and it's significant as well because it will form the grid alongside the qualifying session we had yesterday, which at the moment looks as if it might be the quicker session of the 2, but it will form the grid for the qualification race tomorrow, which is the final track action of tomorrow. 4:15 local time, 10 laps around the Guia Circuit here at Macau, and then on Sunday 3:30 the 15 laps of the Guia Circuit for the Macau Grand Prix, the FIA FR World Cup here at Macau. Now, we have seen on a number of occasions 2 laps from out of pit lane for the resumption to get things back underway, and they are still weaving now on the second of those out laps from pit lane. So it's not 1 but 2 laps. Certainly the local road sports were going for it at the end of their out lap, weren't they? And now we see the Formula Regional cars taking 2 laps to get everything absolutely up to optimum temperature.
Sometimes you can build a tyre up to temperature too fast, go too hard too soon, can't you? So if you build it up gently, you get a bit more longevity from it rather than trying to bring it up to temperature in a big hurry. It's all a bit crowded down at Lisboa, but the pack streams through safely enough. The one that was really on his toes in that most recent segment was Murray Boyle, wasn't it? Getting himself to the head of the queue. Enzo Dellini there, 7th in the times now. Another couple that have been going quite well this afternoon, Noah Stromstead and James Engotzi, who we've not really touched on very much. James Engotzi, the American driver for Santalok, who was a winner at Portimao in the Euro Cup 3 Championship, in which he's been racing. That's Dellini getting right up against the Armco's and comes down towards Police and makes the climb up the hill. Slater's done an absolute best in Sector 2. The odd thing about this is that many of the drivers that seem to go out first do take a bit longer to start to improve sector times or get things up to temperature, whereas those from the mid-pack and onwards, and Slater is a prime example, he comes out sort of in the middle of the traffic, is absolutely on it straight away. And here he is, you can see yet again all the energy being put into the car, and he's done an absolute best sector 2, and Enzo Deligny has now done an absolute best sector 4.
I've been enjoying these on-board laps with Freddie Slater, and when the red flag came out, he was on a really good lap. I think he'd done the same. He put overall best in sector 2 on the previous lap, hadn't he?
But he's just got a face full of traffic coming out of the Macau hairpin, so that may not really help Freddie Slater. We've seen him be brave already today by getting past cars going down towards Fisherman's. Now Deligny should be on for an improvement here as he breaks the beam, and he goes fastest. Indeed he is. So that's a 2:16.611 for Enzo Deligny. Matteo De Paolo has improved, but he's 9/10 slower than Deligny, and this is Slater then, who was slower in 1, an absolute best sector 2, slower in 3, slower in 4. He comes up towards the timing line. Freddie Slater 5th in the times. He breaks the beam and he stays 5th.
But it's going to be about this next lap. If he stays committed on this one, this might be one to watch, because he showed the flashes of speed in sector 2. 25.1 was an overall best in sector 2 on that previous lap. Got involved in traffic. Now it's clear for Freddie Slater, and that's the view that he's got. When you blast into the sunshine on the run down towards Lisboa, you can see the hotel in the distance, a uniquely shaped building, and he goes personal best in sector 1. But they all do.
Yeah.
Evan Giltaire does, Teo Nile does, Mari Boyer does, and Tato Kato does as well.
But they are 0.2 of a second and above slower than the absolute best in sector 1, so they're improving their own times, but they're not necessarily competitive against the outright best. Now Slater has done an absolute best in sector 2, and he's just taken that away from this man, Mari Boyer. So you've got Deligny the quickest. Now Deligny's best today is the best of anybody, and he's 6/10 slower than his own best of yesterday, to put it in context.
Freddie Slater overall best then in sector 2, and that's 3 consecutive laps that he's been able to go quicker than anybody else in sector 2. Last time the red flag came out, he wasn't able to continue. Now he can continue and see what he does. It's good. His overall best in sector 3, which is now a yellow flag sector.
It is indeed at turn 7 then, so that suggests drama on the mountain section. Still 11 minutes 50 seconds on the clock, and another red flag is shown then, so there's been yet another accident, and very, very few laps have been completed, so we're back to where we were last year with stoppage after stoppage, no rhythm being done. And there's a car, look there, just at the very bottom, hidden behind the graphic. That's an Evans GP livery,
I think it is, yeah.
think.
Yeah.
So that would make it
Charlie Wirtz, Oscar Wirtz, or Yamakoshi.
Yamakoshi. Yeah, we'll confirm as soon as we can. So, yet again, we have a red, and this is the reason for the stoppage. Big lock-up, big understeer, hard into the wall, nose cone spat off, damaged car, and the red flag for the 3rd time of asking in this session. And yet again, wall car flag penalty, because you lose your best lap time. There'll be the investigation line on the timing screen very shortly, but there really is nothing to do. You cause a red flag, you lose your best lap time. So car plus wall equals red flag equals lose best lap. Maybe I'm being slightly unfair to the Evans GP team in suggesting it's one of their cars. We're still awaiting confirmation, but everybody back into the pit lane. It was an Evans GP car, and it was Charlie Wirtz this time. Oscar had his accident this morning, now it's Charlie Wirtz. So things really are going from bad to Wirtz for Evans GP. That's 1 each, and Yamakoshi had 2 accidents yesterday, so they've all had a strike now.
You have to treat all the children equally. So Freddie Slater, you know, when we had the last red flag during the session, he'd just gone overall best in sector 2. This time he went overall best in sectors 2 and 3. It would just be nice to get a couple of laps, one after another, when we can see this play out. And like you've said quite a few times, the both of us have said over the last couple of days, just get in the rhythm. We've had it at the start of this session, but not since. It's been a bit challenging, this.
you know, once you get to the point of an interruption, then the drivers do seem to get rattled, don't they? It was a common theme last year. I know the weather was against them, but still in the dry conditions now, people are making lots of errors. Surely it's better to have a 90% lap than an absolutely gung-ho one that ends up in the wall. Anyway, 11 and 3/4 minutes effectively are what we have. Car 8 under investigation, causing a red flag. Well, yep, investigating the barriers. And Charlie Wirtz then is going to lose his best lap time. That is Theo Nile, 4th at the times this afternoon. Jin Nakamura, number 3, was the driver that was attracting Alan's attention with his crash helmet a little bit earlier on. He is currently 12th in the times. As you see other cars there from the Toyota Gazoo Racing driver development stable being pushed back into line. So that's the look down to pit out, where the cars in due course will be. And right now, we've got to get this broken car of Charlie Wirtz out of the way. There are going to be an awful lot of empty bars tonight because mechanics are going to be here rebuilding cars.
It's going to be busy, isn't it? Yeah,
Not great for the economy.
Yeah, you're quite right.
Now, this is Jin Nakamura, and you have a look at Jin Nakamura's crash helmet, then Alan will wax lyrical.
If only I could find the cut. It is there, yeah, so just to the left-hand side of the chin. There we go. Small carrot with ears and a face.
And the other characters, he says, stupidly.
Let me see the emojis. There's a teddy bear, a rabbit, a carrot, and all sorts. Very proud of that.
You can imagine.
Put all the emojis that are involved in that helmet on Instagram.
Really?
Yes.
Said that like a cad. Thanks, Alan. We're going to be back underway in less than a minute. And it is...
You're very grateful about that, aren't you?
Deligny, who is the fastest. You're not wrong. And he's quicker, he says, ploughing on regardless by 0.172 of a second from Mathieu Colnaghi and Evan Gilter.
I'll send you the link. Is that all right?
Yes. Yes. Can't wait. 30 seconds before...
Of this,
before we get things back underway. Carrots and all.
Right.
Jin Nakamura is 12th.
I'm going to put my race face on now. I think they are too.
Yes. But they're careful faces as well, please. Keep off the walls. Yeah. That's the big letdown of the day, really. Green flag is shown. We're back in business then. We've got 11 and 3/4 minutes as the cars roll down pit lane. And please, can we get through this without another stoppage? Please. We're up to 16 red flags across the day, and we don't want any more.
What were we yesterday? 15 in total.
15 in total.
We've got 2 more sessions to come here today after the conclusion of this. So.
And we've had fewer sessions today.
Yes.
Just saying.
Oh well, here we go. 11 minutes and 20 seconds of this session remains. And GT3 qualifying is coming up over 2 sections of qualifying, and historically, you know, we haven't had many interruptions from the GT3 cars last year and this year so far. I think we're in to a thrilling finale for the day with the conclusion of this qualifying for the FIA FR World Cup and the FIA GT World Cup.
Drivers still, in a lot of cases, though, having to rely on their time from yesterday as the track is live once again. So the incident reports get longer and longer as the day goes on, but perhaps it's inevitable that we get these dramas because we're getting through free practice into qualifying where things become ever more important and the commitment level goes up too. Running in tandem, team to team, as they are released in garage order. With Colnaghi in the background. So Enzo Deligny put himself up to the top of the times just before that most recent red flag. And there's now 10 minutes on the clock. This outlap, you'll see the car still, when they get onto the faster waterside part of the circuit, weaving around to generate the warmth and the pressures in the tyres once again and think about pushing on that subsequent lap.
So far we've seen them take 2 laps to push for a push lap, Let's see, with only 10 minutes left of this session, if they push a little bit quicker on the second lap out. I fancy they won't. I think they're going to kick to the plan, if you like. It's not plan A, it's not plan B, it's not plan C, but it's somewhere down the order of getting things absolutely up to temperature to try and push on to get close to yesterday's time, which was into the 2:15s. Today we've tickled the mid-2:16s. 2:16.611 is the quickest time so far today for Enzo Dellini. They go on to the first of their flying laps now and see what will emerge over the next 9 minutes of the session. Local time just going to 10 minutes to 4 in the afternoon, and they're still warming things up, aren't they? Yeah, so not pushing on lap number 2 on track.
Just starting to think as well, as we get closer to 4 o'clock, whether we might have peaked with the temperatures, and they might be just starting to drop a little bit now, which
Cooling
in turn might help that time once we're in a position to think about them. This is Colnaghi, who is second in the times, and let's see what he can do, because he's been one of the big improvers in this session. Matteo Colnaghi, who is relatively new to this type of car. It's been more powerful than the Euro Cup 3 that he's been racing this year. So he's on his way down to Lisboa now.
And just to make the point, Freddie Slater has gone personal best in sector 1 on this second lap out from pit lane. So that's worth pointing out. And Matteo De Paolo gone.
That was Colnaghi having a big slide under braking, but he saved that really well. Sorry.
And Mary Boyer, absolutely, you don't have to apologise. Big action happening. You're looking at the pictures. I'm looking at the timing screen. Mary Boyer has gone overall best in sector 2 as well.
Right, okay. Well, Colnaghi has got this thing by the scruff of the neck, and you can almost hear the car whimpering. Such the abuse is being given right now. Matteo Colnaghi does a personal best in sector 2, drops down the hill then now towards Faraway Hill, and Colnaghi towards the end of sector 3 shortly. So yeah, Boyer with an absolute best in sector 2, and down in sectors 1 and 3, the other side of it. Right, almost to police is Colnaghi. Flicks left, flicks right, left again, back into view. And an absolute best in sector 3. So Matteo Colnaghi, who was only 0.172 of a second anyway behind Enzo Dellini, is trying to combat that. Now, the time that he lost in the first sector was about 6/10, so he's got quite a lot to try to rebuild as Mary Boyer is coming now down towards Fisherman's. He's got Teo Nile behind him, so these are the two teammates from the Pinnacle Motorsports stable. And up towards the timing line they will come. So what are we looking at now? Something in the low 2:16s is where they need to be aiming. Yesterday a 2:15.7 was the best, but right now a good low 16 would be good. And Niall does a 15.9, so 2:15.9. We're almost on yesterday's pace. This is Slater coming over the line. His lap was looking good, and he's up now over the line, but doesn't improve the time. 7 others, in fact, put him back. Colnaghi was the one that went through to go 4th. Rashid Al-Bahari, another of the Prema drivers, 3rd quickest, getting ahead of Slater. So in this session, Freddie now is only 7th, but he's still quicker than anybody from yesterday.
And just about everybody improving on each of the sectors now, and I think you're right, I think it has cooled a little bit, and the sunshine getting lower in the sky. Stromstead ended up putting an overall best as well in sector 3. That moved him up the order. The net result, 2 personal best sectors, 1 overall best sector, up to 9th for Noah Stromstead. Mary Boyer goes overall best in sector 2.
Yeah, Stromstead looking good, up to 9th in this session. Slater's down to 8th, isn't he now, because you've got Taito Kato, who has got himself up into 2nd, and that's another driver, Kato, into the 16s. But Teo Nile, a 2:15.977, does now suggest that people are being able to get towards the pace of yesterday. And a big moment for Murray Boyer there, approaching the police. Had to really fight the car, but he's got away with that. Boyer, with a lot of experience in this circuit, ever so close to the edge here. Touch of understeer going up through Moorish. Donna Maria, they come, powers out the other side. So this is the car in the session that's only 7th, despite the fact Boyer has looked quick all the way through.
Look at Dellini, he's gone overall best in sector 3, overall best in sector 4, coming up towards the conclusion of the lap, and this is going to be a good lap. He's currently down there in third place in car number 5. Delaney not without problems today, but Freddie Slater has now eclipsed him in the fourth sector, has gone overall best, but Delaney is going to improve and goes top, 2:15.959. 2:15.959 for car number 5, Enzo Delaney, and we're going to keep an eye on Freddie Slater as well. He's down there now in 9th place, has gone overall best in sector 4. Teo Nile goes top, 2:15.609. Delaney in second, Mary Boyer in third, and Freddie Slater goes second.
And the margins is just 0.2 of a second then between Nile and Slater. Freddie doing a 2:15, as this is Matthew Kolnagi, who has been elbowed back down to 8th in the times as he comes up towards the timing line now. Kolnagi good in the sectors and breaks the beam to go back up to 4th on a 2:16.036.
Overall best in the final sector for Kolnagi on that lap. So the order, you can be forgiven for not knowing that Teo Nile is back at the top of the times. Freddie Slater is in second place. Delaney is in third place. Kolnagi 4th, and Boyer in 5th. Evan Scholter rounds out the top 6, and overall best for Mary Boyer on this lap. Please can we keep going all the way to the checkered flag, because this is really exciting.
And we're getting closer all the time, aren't we, to proper times to rival what we had yesterday. 2:15.708. We're now quicker than that. So Teo Nile is going to be on provisional pole position. Freddie Slater yesterday did a 2:15.708, a 2:15.8 today. So Nile's time in this better than Slater did yesterday. So Nile is now on overall pole position, barring anything else that happens before the very end.
2:15.6 for Teo Nile, and we have under 3 minutes of this session remaining. Kolnagi has gone overall best in sector 2 now, personal best in sector 1, overall best in sector 2. Kolnagi, car number 19, coming in 4th place.
Just thinking for a moment there, the Pinnacle cars had backed out completely coming down towards the Melco hairpin, and there's a lot of traffic in which sits, I think, possibly Freddie Slater. The clock has 2.5 minutes still to run. Mattia Kolnagi, as you say, is still the one pushing. Interestingly, there aren't quite so many sector improvements as there were. So does that mean that the tyre is now just starting to go past its peak? So it is Nile in this session alone, Nile, Slater, Delaney, but in the overall classification, it is Nile from Slater. Teo quickest today, Slater quickest yesterday. So Teo Nile goes through. That lap was a slow one, a 2:23, maybe just to give the tyres a bit of a breather, and then he can push again. Stay out there, just in case you need to respond. Up towards the line here comes the Evans GP entry of the Japanese driver Hiro Yamakoshi, who was in the wall somewhat yesterday, but Yamakoshi now 14th. Enzo has just improved to go 12th. James Igotzi 11th. Evan Gilter goes back up to 3rd. And Taito Kato to 4th. This is Mari Boyer, who is 7th for all of the energy that he's put in. He's only 7th in this session.
But it's not finished yet. We've got 1 minute and 20 seconds of this session remaining, and running on board with Mari Boyer, who has been very quick over the course of yesterday, today, and continues that trend. Goes overall best in sector 2. Good one to be riding on board with, because he has just put in the overall best in that second sector. Personal best coming in right the way down the order. Matteo Paolo, who we've run a few laps with over the course of the last 2 days, is only down there in 9th place. And that may be quite surprising. This is a class field, isn't it? There are so many that are incredibly impressive, and a moment there for Mari Boyer.
Yeah, I thought he was going to understeer off, because it looked as though he braked ever so slightly too late, but Mari Boyer does survive that and has still on this lap been able to do an absolute and a personal best. Checkered flag is imminent, because we're about half a minute away from it, as Mari Boyer now accelerates on towards the Melco hairpin. Goes down, 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 down through the gears to first. Gives it as much lot as he can muster. Comes out of the corner, and then the speed builds the other side. he's going to take the flag, because that is ready to be waved on the start line.
Sector 4, not a personal best for Murray Boyer. Let's see what's going to be the final sector, because don't forget, he went overall best. Checker flag is out. He went overall best in Sector 2, personal best in Sector 3, about to complete this lap, the final lap of qualifying for the FIA FR World Cup and the Macau Grand Prix here in 2025 for the 72nd Macau Grand Prix. He's about to come up to conclude the lap and finish qualifying, heading into the qualification race tomorrow here at Macau. I'm not sure the places are going to alter now. The checker flag has come out. Teo Nile is top of the tree.
If the teams are savvy, they'll be telling the drivers that they're not going to improve, and therefore that they need to just perhaps look after a little bit of life in the tyre. So coming into the pit lane, there'll be some of the cars required for scrutineering. That is then Murray Boyer, who makes his way down the pit road, and teammate Teo Nile then the fastest, and a really good job. Murray Boyer will be a bit frustrated by perhaps the gap between him and his teammate, but you certainly can't fault him for the energy put in there. So Murray Boyer drives down the pit road. Teo Nile then the fastest, the driver who was 8th in FIA Formula 3 this year. Murray Boyer, yeah, disappointed. Didn't quite hook up, did it? Some sectors good, but not full laps weren't.
Right, surprising, isn't it? Because he has shown such good pace, but this is a class field this year. This entry for the Macau Grand Prix is superb. It could have been one of a dozen drivers that ended up quickest after qualifying. Qualifying is one thing, racing is another, and we've got 2 races to look forward to around the Guia Circuit. But for now, make the most of the first triumph on the Macau Grand Prix weekend for the 72nd Macau Grand Prix. And Teo Nile, enjoy this moment with the team. Very much a team effort here. And huge congratulations taking place down there in pit lane.
And we saw last year the importance of starting at the front. I know it sounds obvious, but more so here perhaps than anywhere. Teo Nile then has really put himself in the power seats. But Freddie Slater, starting with him at the front of the grid, it's going to be fascinating, is it not, to see how he is able to take the battle to Teo Nile on that run down towards Lisboa tomorrow. So, again, an interrupted but a really interesting session, and Teo Nile is provisional pole sitter for the 72nd Macau Grand Prix.
So, confirmation of the order after qualifying 2. Teo Nile is quickest, Freddie Slater is second, Evan Giltaire having a good qualifying in 3rd place. Right the way down the order, we can see how things have panned out, including double Macau Grand Prix winner Charles Leung in car number 31, finishing up in 19th place in his first outing in the FR cars here at Macau, having mastered the Macau Grand Prix in Formula 4 machinery back in 2020-2021 as well. So that's the order, 27 cars competing for qualifying for the grid for the qualification race tomorrow, which we'll have for you here at Macau tomorrow on the live stream and around the world at 4:15 tomorrow. This was qualifying.
So the combined results then, taking the better time, Teo Nile ahead of Freddie Slater, Evan Giltaire for 3rd, ahead of Taito Kato, Enzo Deligny and Murray Boyer 6th. Mattia Colnaghi 7th for Rashid Al-Dakheri, Matteo De Palo, and then Noah Stromstead will round out the top 10 for the qualifying race tomorrow. James Egozzi starts 11th ahead of Tsanapolin from Puvasak and then Enzo Ye. Jin Nakamura 14th from Jose Garfias, who crashed out today. Hiro Yamakoshi 16th from Charlie Wirtz, who crashed out today, from Timek Kwarchuk, who crashed out today. And then Oscar Wirtz is going to be at the very back of the order. But Teo Nile will start the qualifying race from pole position tomorrow here in Macau.